Hi guys, I'm Matt. I'm one of the front-end developers here at Vaimo. Been here for nearly a year, give or take 3 weeks, and these people would have put up with me for a whole year. And I'm going to talk about AMP today. But first, a little bit about us. We're Vaimo. We're a global elite Magento partner. We have 13 offices in 11 countries, and we're over 350 employees. And we don't update our keynote slides very often. This is slightly out of date, I apologize. So what is AMP? AMP is an open source project started by Google, designed to tackle the problems with mobile web. It tackles a problem which we're all faced with, not so much here in London, because we have 4G, we have a Wi-Fi in every Starbucks, Costa, and everything pretty much 10 meters down the road. I recently lost my phone. I'm now on a 4S, so I'm struggling with 3G every day, and I feel the struggles. And by struggles, I mean when you look at a web page, you go to read an article, for example, and you're faced with download our native app, accept our cookie notice, hey, you're the millionth visitor, have a free iPad, sign up to our newsletter, and you can't actually see any of the content you came to read in the first place. And all of this comes with overheads. It comes with the overheads of the CSS and JavaScript associated with each component. And you have to wait for all of this before you can even move the cursor, you can even scroll the page. This is actually something a couple of us in the audience play on an unhealthily regular basis. So AMP is basically a solution that Google came up with. And the way how it works is you go onto Google, for example, and you'll see, when you search, you'll see these AMP icons next to the search results. When you click on these, you'll be presented with a fast loading experience, which is usually less than half a second. This is an AMP view of a page, and even with BBC implementing best practices for their mobile site, you can see the comparison that you've still got this huge cookie notice, you've got menus that you don't care about. And if you compare the side-by-side view, you can't even see any of the content, even on BBC's mobile site. So how does it work? It's broken down into 3 components, which is AMP HTML, AMP JavaScript, and the AMP cache, which is, I'll use Google in this example. And if I break it down, AMP HTML is basically a subset of HTML. It has restrictions, but it also extends existing HTML. For example, an image will become an AMP image. It has restrictions such that every element has to define its width and height, or anything external. For example, an image, if you have a 200 by 200 pixel image, you have to specify this. You've probably seen you've probably been faced with the issue where you've seen all image tag. If your developers have been good and they've actually specified one, you'll see the text, and then all of a sudden when the image loads, it'll push the content around. The adverts will load, they'll push content around. So basically AMP wants everything in one place so that before it even knows what it's serving up, it knows how to position it on the page. And this is so that AMP can prioritize loading, so it knows that if there's 5 images on the page, but only 2 are above the fold, it'll make sure that these 2 images are what you see first. The AMP.js is basically the backbone of this. This is what implements AMP essentially. Implements its best practices. It does the layout pre-calculation. As I said, it makes sure that everything above the fold will get rendered first, making sure that you'll see this before you see anything else. And as you start to scroll, it will prioritize as you scroll what you're going to see next. Kind of like a lazy load, but for everything you see on the page. It also prevents render blocking, which is so that like with the example with the article, when there are multiple elements on the page, you don't have to wait for every element to have loaded before you can start using that page. You can use it straight away, and everything will load as you read the page. The AMP cache, on the other hand, is, as I said, using Google in this example, is the cache where these pages are served up. So you're basically backboning your pages off Google, which gives you a huge speed boost. It's proxy-based, so depending on where you are, you'll always get the nearest data center serving this content to you. And also, it doubles up as a validator as well, so it will only ever show you validated pages. And as in this example earlier, one thing that Google does that's quite interesting, so when it actually shows you these AMP pages, it seems a lot quicker than it is, because what it's doing is Google knows this is the first result, so it starts loading this page before you even clicked on it, so that by the time you hit it, it's already rendered above. It's already rendered all this above the fold content, so that you know what you can read it straight away. So what can AMP do for Magento? Basically, it'll increase. Increase? No, don't want to increase bounce rates. It'll decrease bounce rates. Obviously, if you can get your product page in front of the users quicker than. The problem at the moment is if you visit a page on Magento, you're downloading all the CSS for the whole site before you've even been to the whole site. You're downloading the cart page, you're downloading the home page, and you might have just gone to a product page directly from an article or from a Google link. So you basically don't want all these overheads, you just want to see the content. This will also increase conversion rates. because obviously if a user's engaged in the product and they add it to the cart, they kind of feel compelled to complete the checkout process. And also it will increase happiness. Yeah, can't actually remember at this point, I apologize. So something interesting Magento Live announced was PWA, Progressive Web Apps, which will be coming, as I understand, in Magento 2.4. And this is basically a service worker that runs in the background. So you kind of get an app-like experience, but from a website without having to install an app. And what this is a piece of JavaScript that runs in the background. You don't see it happening, and what it can do is it can start caching other content, it can start downloading other assets. And it can send push notifications even when the website's closed because it's running completely standalone. So if something's like out of stock and a user wants to see it in stock, you can send them a push notification through the website as soon as it comes back in stock. So how does this work with AMP? There's a new kind of buzzword, progressive web AMP as opposed to apps. The problem with, not so much a problem, but the pitfall with progressive web apps is that the service worker only kicks in on the second visit, because when you, say for example, you hit a product page, you're viewing the product page, you're viewing all this content, as I say, you're downloading all these assets for pretty much the whole site, and then a service worker on top. The service worker can then kick in and start caching stuff additionally, but then you'll only notice it when you start viewing other pages. So the first page hit is what will slow you down, but if you can bypass this first page hit with AMP, for example, you'll get a lightning fast first page hit, followed by progressive web apps kicking in, so that then the pages after that will start to be just as smooth, even though it will be on the main website at that point, not an AMP page. So say for example, if you go from Google to a product page, you know as a website owner you have 5 related products. You could start caching not just the images for those products, but the alternate images. You could start caching the CSS and styling just for the checkout process. So as soon as they make any interactions on that page, because you're limiting them with an AMP page, you give them this kind of fluid experience from every page on, while on the main website at this point, not on AMP pages anymore.